you. Today I'm joined with Victoria Winter from the project Shower Curtain. Excited to have you.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here today.
Yeah, and so Shower Curtain kind of started as a solo project. How does it feel like now to have a band that you can collaborate with?
It feels really good. I feel like it was more of a solo project just because I had all these songs recorded and I just wanted to put it out under a name, but then now that it's a band and it feels collaborative, it was kind of just a natural transition to that. I feel like it wasn't super intentional. It just kind of started happening that it felt right to write music with people and just make it a project, because I never necessarily wanted to be a solo artist in the first place, but it was just the one thing I wanted to have these songs under, I guess. So yeah, it feels like the natural kind of progression of things.
And then how do you think your writing process is now that you collaborate with people and have people to bounce off of?
Yeah, I think now I only really give the band a skeleton, whereas before it was more just I had the whole thing ready. And I think in a lot of ways sometimes it's harder to get everybody together and be okay, we're gonna write a new song. So sometimes I feel that process just looks a little bit me and Ethan, my guitarist, we will just be us two and then write that whole part and then be write a whole song together and then be oh, here's the next step. So sometimes it comes in I feel it's hard to write with four people at the same time, but it rarely really is me being I have a whole song ready. So I feel in that way that's kind of what it looks like, you know.
And what do you think each person brings to helping put a song together?
I think Ethan kind of elevates and challenges my songwriting. He is always just because I feel I have a more pop sensitivity, sensitive mindset of that's just naturally how I feel I end up writing things. And I feel he kind of, when he started the band, he kind of challenged that structure of oh, okay, this is kind of the obvious way in which this harmony would be, what if we try to switch that up. So I feel he definitely brings the kind of the connecting blocks, almost the transitions and all of that. He's also just really awesome lead guitarist, so I feel he brings a lot more complex riffs and all of that, and he's been singing with me too, which is pretty cool. And then I feel Sean, my drummer, he is super into jazzy drums, kind of weirder drum beats and less straightforward, so I feel he brings kind of that quirkiness to the style. And then Cody is our new bass player, actually, so I feel I don't have that much to say because the bass has usually we haven't really had a bassist that has been fully writing with us, but definitely me, Ethan, and Sean, I would think are a big part of the writing process in that way. And also I think a lot of this collaboration also came with recording stuff. I feel in the moment Sean would be what if the song just paused, so I feel each person kind of brings a different edge to the project that when I was by myself, I feel I just wouldn't have thought of those things, you know.
Yeah. Is anyone in the band more traditionally trained?
Yeah. Ethan went to music school, which is super helpful.
Yeah,
to be honest.
I've read interviews because you like just kind of like
taught yourself. Yeah, I think I know like some people say that when you learn too much it's like harder because you're just like thinking about it. I do feel like I wish I like knew more, but yeah, I'm like totally just like taught myself kind of like intuitively will write things without really understanding anything about like what chords I'm like having or like anything that's like music theory wise. And I think in some ways I wish I knew more, and I'm like hoping to learn like the more time goes on, the more I like learn these more like traditional like theory aspects. But Ethan went to music school, and that's pretty helpful, especially when I feel like I hear something in my head but I don't know like exactly how to execute it. So I feel like a lot of that I feel like limited in my knowledge because of that, because I like hear how I want things to sound, but sometimes I don't quite fully like know how to make it perfect. And also it's pretty helpful because he like his like program, he like learned how to record, and like in that more like he's like a sound person, so I feel like he knows kind of like about frequencies and like these more like I don't know, like recording principles that I feel like are really helpful not only for recording but like when we're live, and like having our like live sound pretty good, and having him to like communicate with like a sound person is like really helpful, honestly.
Yeah, I feel that because I feel like music journalism, I just like what I like, and I don't know any theory or anything. I feel like it would be like more fun to like be able to be like talk about like, oh, I love the chord progression in this song, but it's just like I just like the way music makes me feel.
Yeah, but at the same time I feel like that's the most important thing. You know, like I feel like everybody can get in their head about like I get in my head about that a lot, and then I think like my favorite artists of all time, like they just make me like they just make me feel, you know.
An interview I did with May Rio, because they're not traditionally trained either. I think like we were talking about how sometimes it can give you like a little bit of an edge because it's like you don't put yourself in a box because you're not like, oh, you're not supposed to do that, or that doesn't make sense, you know. You just kind 100%. Of have like a flow.
Yeah, I think it's like a double-edged sword for sure.
And you talk about like playing drums and like different bands. Do you miss doing that sometimes, like now that you're like a front woman?
I do miss playing drums, to be honest. I mean, I have been asked a couple times to join certain projects, but nothing's ever felt like 100% like the right move. I'm still kind of open to doing that. Definitely a little like rusty, so I haven't played in a band in a minute, but yeah, I definitely really love the drums. It's so fun and it's very cathartic. I think just for my emotional health, I think it's like a really good outlet. You get to be like a lot more physical, but I think that's still maybe something in the future that I'm down to do if like the right collaborators come along, you know.
Do you think you'd ever like just for like a song or two, like I mean bands like I'm trying to think, Surf Curse, like they play drums while like singing.
Yes,
I feel like that's probably really hard, like a lot of breath control maybe.
Yes, I think I used to sing and drum, but I think I am like definitely open to that. I think we've talked about in like an emergency, like if Sean really can't make it, like I could definitely do that. Maybe one day it'll be a part of Shower Curtain, but I mostly envision it as like me being in someone else's project. Yeah, I think so. I think that would be like ideal, or like have like a collaborative thing in which that would be my instrument.
And then from your first EP, which is self-titled, how does it feel to transition from like bedroom pop-esque to like a lot darker sound? I mean, like you can kind of like get the sense of like the transition because like in like songs like Should I Call You, you kind of get the vibe of like how you sound now, but it's like a little bit bubblier. Like, how do you think you evolved into that?
I think it feels really good. I feel like a lot of it is like, you know, that self-titled EP I wrote when I was like 19, 18. And now I'm like about to be 24. And a lot, I think, like that growth kind of, you know, those are years that you grow a lot. And I think it feels like really good to not feel like I need to be like cute or soft anymore. I think I've just been leaning into like a lot of, I think I'm a very like intense person with my personality. And I think before I used to kind of shy away or like not feel like pretty like uncomfortable with that side of myself and expressing that. But I've always been pretty intense. And like definitely like one of my flaws is I'm like short-tempered, and I'm like, I feel things really intensely. And before, I think I felt like I had to like lean into this like soft girl aesthetic. And
but I
now,
feel like it was like the time
and
too.
it was the time, yeah. But also like, even now where I'm like, I didn't feel super comfortable like, you know, turning my guitar up. Like I felt like, oh, I didn't want to like be like too loud. Like I didn't want to cause that. But it was the time, and I feel like I still to this day love like, you know, Soccer Mommy. Like that was like kind of like my influence at the time. Like Snail Mail, Soccer Mommy, Clairo, I don't know, like that era of music, you know?
I feel like Clairo, especially, like, I mean, Clairo has like so many like sons and daughters like in music now. I feel like they really like captured that like singing in your bedroom without like 100%. Anything like too dramatic, just like recording like a YouTube-esque video. You know? And it's just like funny thinking about it, because I love Clairo, by the way. I love Clairo.
Yeah,
but, like,
me too.
Thinking about like how she's so connected in the industry anyway, so it's not even like it's like that laid back. Like there's like layers to like everything. Like when she put out Pretty Girl. Yeah. You know.
And I feel like that was like important to recognize, because I feel like as an artist sometimes you don't even know that there's like things that are like, especially now I have like a day job in the industry, and I'm like, oh shit, like all of this stuff I never knew. Yeah. And I just thought like you could just be like, yeah, there's just like someone that's lucky and their song blows up, and I'm sure there is. Yeah. But I think most people that it seems like that, it's not exactly like that.
True. Yeah.
Right? But I do think, it just feels a lot better. I mean, I still feel like there's Shower Curtain has a lot of like the contrast between loud and soft. Like I still think that, but it's cool to like look back, and because I'm like, oh, my old music, like cringe, but honestly there are like Should I Call You, like You Make Me Feel, I Keep Trying, like all these like songs from like back in the day. I feel like we're showing like a little bit of like what's happening now. Like they were like little tastes of it.
Yeah, I love seeing like the progression of artists. Sometimes I hate like when artists like just delete all of their stuff, like erase it from existence, and I'm like, I know that like they probably don't like it anymore, but it's like it's a part of your history. Like it's like how far you've come, you know. It's like, and there's still people that love that music, you know. But I get it. I think sometimes fans like expect a little too much. Like if you used to sound this way, and they're like, why don't you make music like this anymore? And blah, 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 blah.
100%. Yeah, and it sucks when you are a fan and then you used to like their music and you don't really anymore, and you're like, no, but you have to just like understand that it's just how art is, you know.
Yeah, because like I even think now of like the music I listen to now is so much different than like what I listened to in high school and like what I listened to in middle school. It's like, if I evolve in like my music taste, why should I expect an artist to just like keep on making the same music?
Yeah.
You know? Like, it's just it's just weird. I feel like sometimes when I see people online being like, why don't you do this? I'm like, just move on, you know? Like, listen to the old stuff. It's like, they're not gonna do anything.
Yeah. It is tough. I think it's like forever. When you're the artist, you really want to like do something new because it's like more exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure it's hard when something specific you do feels really successful.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, I should be doing this because it is successful, but it's not necessarily what gives me like the most pleasure, you know?
Yeah. And it can be like a little bit disheartening because it's like, don't you want to like grow with the artist? Because they're like, why don't you want to grow with me instead of like force me to stay the same or play the same like my number one song over and over again, you know? But yeah, your sister Samira also makes music in the Project Winter, who we've also had on the podcast. Do you think that y'all ever influence each other, or you being like the younger sister, do you think that your sister pursuing music helped you take that leap as well, or?
Yeah, definitely, I think so. I think, well, first of all, I think she was like the first one that was like, oh, I think you should take drumming lessons because I feel like you'd be good at it.
Mm-hmm.
When I was like 15. And then she was like the first one when I was like 17. I had all these songs. She was like, you should record these on cassettes, and like I have this like cassette recorder that I have, and make an EP. And I was like, I'm so scared. Like I was like, I didn't even want to post about it. I didn't want to like promote it. I was like so embarrassed to have like anyone like listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in a lot of like emotional and also like artistic ways, like she is like such a big support. She's always like encouraging me, and I think in a lot of ways she like looks back at like her career and then sees like where I'm at and is like, well, look, like you should like fucking go for it, and always just like very much encouraging me. And then I think like now like definitely we bounce ideas off of each other more than like when I was like obviously like a teenager, but she always sends me her music and thoughts, and like asks me for like like mixing notes or like recommendations of like music. We always are like sharing music with each other. Always like sending like aesthetic references, because we're like really like good friends, like above being sisters, so we definitely talk to each other a lot and influence each other a lot. And I think definitely she definitely like influenced me to like believe in my project and like just go for it, you know? Just very much older sister vibes. Yes. So yeah, I'm excited for her new music, and
I like the single that she put out, The Lonely Girl.
Yes.
I'm trying to like remember the name off the top of my head. Yeah, I really love that.
Yeah, so definitely for sure we have that relationship.
And like speaking of family, do you think your parents help influence you, because like they've like raised like two musicians like in the family?
I think like in some ways like my mom was just always so supportive of like whatever we wanted to do. She was always like our biggest fan, and I think in that way like it definitely helped us. But I also think in a lot of ways like both my mom and my dad, we had like a really intense family, and like there was always like performance. Like every time we were like together, it was always just like dancing and singing, and like even like as a little kid, whenever we had like family time, it would be like every single like one of us would like prepare something to like present to the whole family. So I think in a lot of ways, like, our family was, like, pretty just, like, into, like, performance. Like, my mom loves singing, and we always had, like, live musicians. Whenever, like, she would throw a party, she would, like, hire someone to just play guitar, and, like, everybody would sing with this person, like, the whole night. So in a lot of ways, like, in that sense, yes. But also, like, both my parents don't work creative jobs at all. Mm-hmm. Neither do we have anyone really that does that. So in that way, like, not really. Mm-hmm. In, like, a professional way. But I think in, like, a spiritual way, yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. And you're from Brazil, so do you think that, like, any aspects of, like, growing up there have influenced your sound now?
I feel like it probably has, but at the same time, like, my influences were always, I always, like, listened to, like, more, well, actually, that's not true, but within the genres that inspire Shower Curtain, I feel like those were mostly, like, English speaking artists. Mm-hmm. So, like, in that way, I'm not sure if there's, like, a tangible way of, like, that my music is, like, necessarily, like, directly inspired. Mm-hmm. Yet, I do feel like I love so many Brazilian artists. I grew up listening to a lot of Brazilian music. Mm-hmm. That was my first exposure to, like, a scene and a DIY scene and going to shows. It was when I was in Brazil. So, in that way, like, definitely, I think in a lot of, like, yeah, just, I think, like, how people are in Brazil and how you relate with each other in, like, an emotional sense, that is very important for your art, you know? So I'm sure, like, in that way, I do, like, transmit those influences. But, like, you know, indie rock isn't, like, super big in Brazil. It's not one of, like, the bigger genres there. I would say even just, like, psych rock is, like, bigger than, definitely. Yeah, like, for sure, like,
there's so many
with, like, yeah, exactly, like, the more, like, psychedelic, like, trippy, like, mix of, like, rock with, like, Brazilian music and all of that, which is not really what I play and create myself, but that was, like, kind of, like, what I was, like, growing up with, you know?
And so you moved to New York same year as me, like, 2021, right?
Yeah.
So it's, like, coming up on, like, 3 years now that you've lived here. How do you think, like, the music scene is different from places you've lived before?
I just was asked that question on another, like, radio interview, and I was, like, with Ethan answering it, but we both said how, like, number one, I feel every time I go back home, I'm, like, reminded of, like, how lucky I am to, like, be here. The, like, abundance of resources is, like, crazy. Like, I think when you're here and you're an artist, you kind of, like, take for granted just how much opportunity that you have. Like, you know, growing up, I would be lucky if I got to play, like, a show every, like, 6 months. There was, like, until this day, there's, like, no venues. Like, COVID wiped all of the DIY spots in my city. Literally, there's, like, I think one, like, metal venue from, like, that's been around for a while. And in a lot of ways, yeah, like, I feel like I take for granted sometimes. It's, like, crazy because sometimes you feel like it's, like, saturated, and then sometimes I feel like, damn, like, there's really everything here. Like, you can do any type of, like, music, and, like, there will be someone that can, like, understand that, and I feel like that's really precious. On the flip side, I feel like sometimes, you know, you feel, like, less, like, you're a small fish, what is it, small fish in the big pond, or fucking something like that. Whereas, like, I feel like in other cities you get to, like, stand out because you're, like, the only one that's doing that type of thing. But personally, I would rather be a small fish because I think I absorb so much from like how like it's like so much good art is like being done, and I feel so inspired, and I really don't think that I would be like my music would even sound the way it does because I like if I like lived somewhere else, because I'm in being inspired by so many different things that New York brings, like so many like different experiences, not even just shows, but like going to raves or like going to like a theater, a gallery or something like that. I feel like I am sometimes when you live here you don't even understand like just how much that impacts you, and every time I leave here and I go back home I'm like reminded of that, you know. So I think I really love the scene here. I really love living in New York, and I think it's a place where I lived in LA for 1.5 years, and I had a really like a harder time blending in there than I do here. I feel like in LA a lot of the people I was meeting had like the same walk of life. Like most of them had grown up in LA. They had been like, you know, playing music for a really long time, or like their parents were like someone creative fields, and here I feel like I get to have like a relationship with like people that have all sorts of walks of life. And I feel like I really do value that a lot, and I think there's kind of like an easier time because everybody recognizes that it's a place where people come and go so often, that I think people are a little more like receptive to just like listening to you and like seeing you and being a little more open to that.
Yeah, I feel like I've never lived in LA, but like from like past interviews and people I've talked to, I get the gist that like New York is more interconnected. Like I can like people like it's not just split up into like groups of like, oh, you do shoegaze music, all the shoegaze people are over here, all the people that do pop music are over there. I feel like every time I go to a show, like everyone's going to each other's shows and like everyone's interconnected and like collaborating and doing like cool shit, you know? Like yesterday, like at Elsewhere, there was a show with like May Rio and Brutus Eighth, like 2 different sounds, but like they have a show together, you know? I feel like it's not everyone has their own team, you know?
I agree, and also I just think that that's like the future. Like no one's like as a listener, no one's just like listening to one genre. Like people can appreciate a lot. People are like multi like people have like different sides to them, and they can enjoy different music in one night, you know. And I feel like New York is pushing that, but it's also pushing that because it's able to, you know. I feel like not every place has like that much like abundance of acts that they can just like mix together, and
and I think that it's like cool to see different cities that have like the same type of vibe as New York. Like Philly, like Chicago, I feel like have really good music scenes that are like really interconnected like that as well, and it's just like cool to see like how much cool music is coming out of like these cities and states and stuff like that.
Definitely.
So Edgar was your first release in like 2 years. Was it like a little nerve-wracking to like put it out, especially since it's like a lot different than like what you put out in the past?
Yeah, I feel like it definitely was, but I think I was mostly just like, I can't wait to get this out. It felt, I was less nervous, but more just like, let's just do it, you know? I definitely was like, just kind of like impulsively being like, I need to like put something out, you know, while we're still finishing the record. It's taking a really long time to finish it, and I don't even know when this record's gonna come out. And I also kind of feel like, you know, after being so like on a hiatus of like releases, I didn't want to like all of a sudden drop like a full thing. So I kind of wanted to like give a like taste of it, and like to be honest, we still were definitely like in the middle of like the record. But it felt really good. It was like a song that I was like happy about releasing it. I don't know, it felt very like spiritual and like the right moment, to be honest. And it was kind of serendipitous how like a lot of things kind of came into place after that. I just felt like I was in between a couple of songs to drop as a single, but just in my heart I just like knew that was the right one. I could see the video, I could see like everything pretty much, and yeah, I'm that's kind of how I feel about my music now. I'm just like, I can't wait. I'm just like, can't we just fucking do it? But it's always scary because you're always like, are people gonna care about me? You know, are people gonna listen? Is anyone gonna give a shit about this?
Yeah, I feel like that's a scary thing about like creating stuff. You're just like, it's like scary putting stuff out, you know?
Yeah.
But you just like kind of have to do it, you know?
Yeah, and it's like you can be like, I like this. And that's kind of the max you can do. And that's more than I've done in the past, to be honest. Because in the past, I feel like I've been like, oh, I like this, but not 100%. So whatever, like, let's just do it anyways. But I feel like Edgar was, like, the first time where I, like, actually really did, like, believe in it.
I think I listened to, like, the demo of the album. What do you think is, like, gonna change or like anything like that's like
actually that was not the demo, that's like the thing,
the thing,
yes. But now we're making the visual identity and like concept for the album, trying to like do all of that. We still need to master it, and the mixes need to, I think, go through one more round, but that's pretty much done. And I think I'm just like, I just really want there to be like an online representation of what we sound like live, to be honest. I really want people that, you know, don't necessarily live here, that don't really see us play, to like know about this like new phase. And I think it could reach a new audience for sure. So yeah, I'm like really excited to just have that out, to be honest.
Do you know like when like the next single will be out?
Yeah.
Really?
No, actually
no.
I don't.
Do you know which song that you want to
make
the single?
But I don't know if I should say it.
We'll talk after.
Yeah, we can talk after. I feel like I do know, but it kind of depends on what other people think.
Yeah.
You know? But I don't know just yet. I'm like definitely before the year ends, it'll be out. But yeah, I think in a couple of months we'll see a single for sure, which is so exciting. Cannot wait.
Yeah, and then you talked about like trying to like reach a different audience, and like you're going to South by this year.
Yes.
Are you excited?
I am so excited. I've never been to Texas before. Yeah, I'm really hoping I get to make new friends, and it's definitely super nerve-wracking, to be honest, because it's a lot of time and effort and money, but we're doing it.
Yeah.
Fuck it. I've always wanted to do it. Every year I've told myself I was gonna do it, and then the next year, and then the next year rolls around and I don't do it. So this year I was like, fuck it, we're going.
Yeah. Are there any bands that you're excited to see while you're down there?
Honestly, I haven't particularly seen like anyone's like schedules, but just on social media I've seen a lot of my friends are going. I feel like now is like when they're starting to like announce the shows. But yeah, the roster is looking really sick, and I honestly just like can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah. This band called New Dad is playing. I feel like you would really like them.
That's cool.
There's like other people going, but I'm still like mapping.
Yeah, are you gonna go?
I'm gonna go too, yeah.
Hell yes.
Just figured it out this week.
Sick.
Yeah, so it's cool. I'm excited too. It's gonna be fun.
Did you go last year?
No, I didn't. I had surgery last year, which is so sad. The lineup last year was crazy. I wish I did go last year, but sadly.
Yeah, I know Tagabow was gonna go. Mm-hmm. I saw them on the roster and I really want to see them, but
yeah, and a lot of New York bands too are going, like Venus Twins, Pawns, Birthday Girl. I'm trying to think of others, but like
Mario,
yeah, like so many people are going. I'm like, yay! I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. It's gonna be a party.
Yeah. And then, are you excited to like have like a different crowd like react to your music of like you playing like live shows?
I mean, definitely. I think playing in New York can like if there's so much and you get to play so much that sometimes you kind of forget that like, you know, ultimately I don't really want to be playing to like the same crowd all the time. That's why I really want to go on tour this year and play new cities, just because it feels more like productive. Yeah, to be honest.
Just get like different reactions,
like, meet new people. So I'm definitely super excited about that, honestly.
And do you think that, because you also DJ, do you think that DJing helps you creatively when you're like working on shot worker and things?
Honestly, I think I wanted to, my next phase I think is I want that to influence the music a little more, because as of now I feel like DJing has shown me so many new genres of music that I just did not.
I want to get into it because I feel like it'll help me like
with
like my knowledge of music and things like that.
Definitely, it showed me a lot. I don't think I ever like really knew about these genres of like electronic music that before I started DJing. So in that way, like, you know, I always talk to my boyfriend about like how it's really important as an artist to like have a wide net of like references and a wide net of like what you like, and you can always tell when an artist like doesn't really have that and just like is trying to like copy one specific
something.
Yeah,
because I feel like if you don't have like different influences or anything to like draw from, it's just kind of like reductive. Like I feel like a lot in like emo-esque music, you can definitely tell the people that just like are making music that doesn't really mean anything. Like, not to be rude.
No, not to be rude.
But
I think I think you can tell, and even I can tell, like, especially, you know, I don't really like hardcore that much, like, as a person. Like, I don't really go to hardcore shows, like, I don't listen to hardcore bands, but I went to like the Show Me the Body show, and that was like amazing. And you can tell like when a band is in a specific genre, but they're so rich with like references, and you can tell that they're like inspired by a lot of things. Or like Frost Children, for example, like they're so sick, and I don't really listen to that kind of music on my day-to-day, but like they're amazing.
I think like Frost Children helped like introduce me into like hyper pop-ish.
Me too. I've never, every hyper pop example I have like heard before, I didn't really fuck with until Frost Children. And actually they're kind of like an inspiration too, because I feel like they DJ, and when they DJ it's also so awesome. Every DJ set I've seen of theirs, it's like really sick, and you can tell they really like fashion and like their design. So like all of these things that I think DJing has made me like more comfortable, also exposed to like different crowds of people in New York. DJing can feel like a break from the like indie shoegaze scene that sometimes I feel like more confined to. So in that way, yes, but I'm really hoping like the next thing that I make, I can actually like get some cool like inspirations into like the actual like material and production of shit, you know. But as of now, I think it's just more like my own like creativity that's just inspired by that, you know?
Yeah, and then it's like cool to be like, because I've started to like try and like listen to a bunch of music, especially like older stuff, because I feel like I like a lot, like I'm really good at like finding new bands and like like being like, oh, I love this, but I don't like know like the references that they draw from, and like now I'm starting to listen to like a lot of older stuff. I'm like, oh, they sampled that from blah blah blah, like, oh, this is like an interpolation of like this. I'm like, oh, that's so crazy.
I really want to get into that also. I feel like I'm the same, where the contemporary artists, I'm like, yep, like good about that. But I also feel like I really want, I haven't like listened to so much like old stuff, and I was actually talking to my sister about this with like making our album cover, and how like I was like mostly looking at current bands covers that I really like and can take inspiration from, and she was like, you should like go back and like get some like album covers from like the 90s as inspirations. And I feel like I really want to be better about like listening to like the OG like legends, you know?
Yeah, because your playlist, like the shoegaze, like Femme, Fuzz, I like know like almost all of those artists. But then it's like when I was like doing research on like the beginning of shoegaze, like I know My Bloody Valentine, but like have I listened to the album? And like I listen to Slow Dive, but it's like there's like other bands too, like Lush and like
Just
the Swirlies and like Swerve Drive. I'm like, I have not listened to any of those, and like maybe I should like get into that, because I do like a lot of shoegaze music, and I do like a lot of things that are like more slowcore and things like that.
Yeah, I agree. Same. I mean, My Bloody Valentine specifically, I'm familiar with their discography, but Lush, I'm not super familiar. Even Slow Dive, I'm not super familiar. Like, even just, like, listening to, like, super, like, the whole, like, Cognitive Twins discography, just a Mary Chain, like, I haven't really fully, like, gone, like, a deep dive on every single thing, and there's so much good music that they put out that influenced everything, like, contemporary. But it's just like, for me, it's like easier to be on top of like people that I know are like releasing shit now, you know. But yeah, I want to be better about going back in the day. Even like, I haven't heard like the whole Radiohead discography, and I
started last year, and it was like, I'm like, wow, why have I never listened to that?
Yeah, I really want to do that. I haven't done that.
OK Computer is really good, and like Kid A, and yeah, it's good. Like, I don't know.
So sick.
And then, like not related to the genre, but, like, I was talking to Ava from Birthday Girl, and they were like, do you like Madonna? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, what's your favorite song? And I'm like, oh, like, wow, I only know the hits. So, like, 2 days ago, I started, like, from the beginning of their discography, and I'm like, wow, this is, like, really cool, because, like, they make really good dance music. And then I found out, like, this, like, sample from, like, a song that I, like, really like. I'm like, oh, they sampled this Madonna song.
Yeah. I felt the same way. I found out that Shakira has, like, rock albums.
Yeah.
Like, she literally, like, because my friend was like, Shakira made shoegaze. And I was like, no, she didn't. I was like, no, she definitely did not make shoegaze, but it was kind of like her albums were like Alanis Morissette. Like, actually, she has a bunch of records that are like Alanis Morissette, like, inspired kind of, but all in Spanish. And then she, like, I think she because I was like, I think that there's like a label behind this, but which is kind of crazy, because back in the day, I feel like labels used to do this, that they were just kind of like, you should be pop, sing in English, dye your hair blonde. She had like black hair.
Oh wow!
Like, really? She was like fully. It was kind of crazy. I was like, wait, what the fuck?
Yeah, I feel like that's the same like with bands like MGMT. Like, apparently, like, they hated their first album, which is like what people love. People are just like, make this, and then they did.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah, I feel like MGMT is like that, and like now like they're creating really cool stuff, and I'm excited for their new album that's about to come out. Like, it's crazy how like evolution happens and how like much I feel so, I don't know, it feels weird sometimes when I'm working in music because it feels yucky sometimes because it's just like,
Yep.
There's so many like ways people take advantage of artists and like make it like so they don't like make what they really want to be making, or like taking advantage of them like money wise and all this other ways too.
Yeah.
And so then like transitioning from like that into your playlist, like you called it Femme,
Yes.
Fuzz, and it's inspired by like your music heroes, like people that you have been really have a big inspiration for shower curtain, like what you think draws you to them.
Well, it mostly was like, okay, I kind of like started thinking about this because I went to the Wednesday show at Brooklyn Steel, and I
missed that. I'm sad.
Yeah, I was like, I've seen them go play at the Broadway, and then at Babies, and then at Brooklyn Made, and then at TVI, and then Brooklyn Steel, and it was like kind of crazy, you know, and I feel like they were such a big inspiration for me. Especially like maybe like 2 years ago, like when I feel like I was really like starting this new phase of shower curtain. And then I was like thinking in their show how awesome it was that like Carly's kind of like one of the heroes in this like genre right now. And how like I feel like it's often just like dudes.
Yeah.
And it feels like such a boys club sometimes, like playing this kind of music. And it's like sometimes I forget about that, and then I'm like reminded of it. Like I'll have like an interaction where I'm just like, whoa, I'll never like be a part of that. Like never. I like, doesn't matter what kind of music I make, doesn't matter how I like act with people, like I'm never really gonna be like have that connection or like be a part of that little club. So then I was like thinking, like, to be honest, if I look back on like the music I've like listened to the most, they're mostly like female fronted bands. And
Bubble grunge.
Yeah,
according to Spotify.
No way, that's what it's called.
Yeah. They're like female fronted bands that make like
bubble grunge.
Rock music. What should we call it? Bubble grunge. It's so funny.
Oh my god. That's like, I don't like that. I don't
Yeah,
like that
terrible.
name. Bubble grunge.
They're women. They're femme. So like bubble grunge should be the name.
Well, because sometimes like people describe certain kind of music as like bubble gum or whatever. I don't know what the fuck the name is, but that like there's like a type of music people call that, and it usually is with female people, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of like, I do understand where that term comes from, but bubble grunge is insane.
Yeah, I feel like I understand like sometimes othering women from like the men in the genre, just because like sometimes like the women are underrepresented.
Yeah.
But it's like, what is that name? Like, why did we name it that?
It's kind of like just like making it cute. Like I feel like that's like the issue I have, is like just because there's a girl, it's like cute.
Yeah.
It becomes cute, you know?
And it's like then it makes it harder for people to like take
you seriously.
Because like I was looking at like back on Paramore, because I love them a lot, and like what Hayley Williams went through, like being in like Warped Tour, and like going through all of that, and like opening for other people and getting booed, and it's like that's like really crazy to think about. And like even bands like Evanescence, like what's the popular song, Bring Me to Life or something, like the man vocals in it were added because people were like, people aren't gonna like it if it's like not like,
damn, I didn't know that.
And it's like her voice is amazing,
her voice is so good,
and it carries and it crushes. Like
yeah.
I think like that's really,
yeah,
like it minimizes like the talent of like other people that like are in the genre, you know, that are really strong voices.
But yeah, I feel like that playlist is mostly just like, I was having like those like thoughts at the Wednesday show of like how awesome it is that they're like popping off.
Grown so much. Like I followed them too, but like I've missed, like, literally, they they always come to New York when I'm out of town or like I'm doing something. Like, I saw the Baby show and I saw like the Music Hall of Williamsburg show, but I missed the Brooklyn Made show. I think, because I had surgery that day, and then the TVI date I was out of town, which is really cool. Like, I think like having like a really like their album release and like having like a free pop-up market is so cool.
They're sick. I mean, yeah, I also just like respect Carly like a lot. Every like interview I've seen with her, like, she seems like really like badass and like,
and then like bringing up like the disparity in touring and like how it's kind of sometimes low-key predatory.
She's like a boss, like,
and like I think sometimes like people that were critical of that are like so not dumb, like, let me like try and think of a nicer word, but like, you know, like they're not thinking clearly. Like, they're like, well, that's just a part of touring, like sleeping in your van, like having like it shouldn't, like, you shouldn't have like if you could like have a standard where you don't have to be like that, why wouldn't you want to create that? It's like, it shouldn't be like that. You like, someone like when she posted that, I think someone commented just like, yeah, when I was touring we were like sleeping in our van every night and blah blah blah.
Obviously
like,
they've slept in their van.
And it's like they've done that, but it's like you should be like socially aware and be like, why are we doing that? Like, why are we letting people do that? And like people that were like bringing aware like merch cuts and like I think that's like crazy thing to do, especially
South by, like,
and it's
artists
like,
are fucking giving them money,
and like South by barely pays people.
They should be like giving official artists housing, like 100%.
And it's like crazy because it's like the price point to like get a pass at South by is like $895. It's like, you are making money from doing this, and it's like having, especially like with some venues, it's like having a merch cut. It's like you already are like getting everything from the bar, and like you already like, because you're not splitting that, because it's like, if we're doing a merch cut, then like why aren't we getting a cut of the bar? Because it's like we're bringing the people in that are coming here. It's not like you, the venue itself, the entity is bringing people in. It's just kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, if anything, when Carly posted that, I feel like a lot of the conversation with like our friends and stuff, it was like, fuck, like, if they can do it, how the fuck are we gonna do
exactly, because you think like, you're thinking like, oh, this is a successful band,
this is like a successful band,
and then like they post all of that and you're like, oh wow, that's crazy. And especially like supporting bands, like they're getting paid like nothing. Like,
and meanwhile, like, I think venues are making a lot of money on drinks, and like, I get it, like, like, it's like whack that sometimes when you play a DIY place, that's where you make the most amount of money. Like, shouldn't we be making more money in the place that has like the most money backing it up? You know, like, it's crazy. I mean, I think that it's super, super helpful when people that are like bigger and like more successful talk about that, because
and are transparent, because it's
I don't know how anyone can make money and be financially successful as a musician anymore. I truly do not know. Like, and I think everybody now is just kind of like, okay, well, you're gonna have to have another job forever, pretty much. Like, it's almost like impossible. So yeah, when they posted that about South by, I was like, damn, like, I don't even know how I'm gonna do that, you know? And I'm like figuring that out now, like, how the hell are we gonna do this, you know? So it's kind of crazy, because I'm like, I get it, a lot of people working in the industry also don't make that much money, but I'm like, where is all the money going to then? Like, where is it, you know? I don't know. Who's like making all the money? That's like not going for everybody.
Like, where is it going?
Because I work for a label, and I see like my coworkers don't really make that much money either. So I'm like, where is everybody? You know?
Yeah.
So yes.
And then, so when did you start getting into like shoegazy type music?
Honestly, I think like for real, 2017, 2018. I saw My Bloody Valentine in 2018. Always was like super into like Alex G type music. And I think that in 2018, that's when I started listening to more shoegaze. I mean, it's like super on the rise now. To this day, I don't think Shower Curtain's like a super shoegazy band, but it definitely, you can tell like
it's like there's like influences.
Yeah, exactly. I almost feel weird calling it shoegaze sometimes because I'm like, we're not true shoegaze, you know?
Yeah, but I feel like it's so weird dividing genres.
Yeah.
Because it's like depending on who you ask, people are going to say different things.
Exactly. Yeah. Like the Shakira shoegaze song. It's like, no, that's just distortion, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And then we were talking about like, you know, like original bands that like started the genre, and then like people that are like making music now. Do you find yourself like more drawn to your peers or like artists from the past?
Definitely people that make music now. I think last year I got super obsessed with Bartalia and Double Virgo, and Feeble Little Horse, and
yeah, I love the Feeble Little Horse album.
It's so good.
Like the Bartalia album.
It's so good. I love Bartalia. So I definitely feel like current artists have been inspiring me more than old school, but I don't know. I hope that changes, to be honest. I hope I find someone I get really obsessed with from the past. Yeah.
And then like you've named a few, but do you think there are any more innovative bands out there that are bringing something like new to the sound?
Definitely. Full Body 2.
I literally was just thinking about that too.
Yeah, they're so cool.
Good. Like, I want them to blow up so bad.
Yeah, I think they will.
Yeah,
honestly, I think it's like about time. I think once they drop like a new thing, like probably.
Yeah, I saw them at Purgatory, like opening for, I can't even remember, but like so good.
Yeah, it was with Tagabow.
That's
and Sun Organ, I think.
Yeah, Sun Organ.
Who else? Full Body 2. I think like Hooky. I don't know if you know them. They're like a small duo from Philly. They're so cool. I mean, this band is so big, but I just got really into Fontaine DC.
No, yeah, same.
They're so cool. They're really sick. Who else? I feel like ML Book. I don't know how to say her name, but
I think it's ML Book.
ML Book. She's really cool. Yeah, I feel like those are. I like really love the new Bartalia thing. That feels like a true like revival of like kind of Strokes era type of indie rock. And I love that kind of music too.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's really interesting because shoegaze is blowing up, and shoegaze is all about like textures and like big sounds, and then you have someone like Bartalia, which is like they have no pedals, and like I think it's a really cool era because maximalism is totally in, but so is minimalism. So I'm like definitely down. I feel like I don't know what avenue to take almost, but yeah. I've just been like in like a trip hop era also. That is actually something I've been really into from like the past. Like I've been listening to the whole like Portishead discography and Massive Attack. It's so good. They're so fucking good. So yeah.
And then like going through your playlist a little bit, you started it out with like your sister, which I think was cute. And then like Tanuki-chan, Cryogeyser, and Wednesday Cherry Glazer. I feel like they are like all like not up and coming, because I feel like they're like really popular, at least among like people that I talk to currently. What do you think that like the next stage of like music will be?
I think there's gonna be a lot of like, in general, you mean?
Yeah, just in general.
I think there's gonna be definitely more and more introduction of like electronic elements with like indie
I feel
rock.
like a lot. Like, do you know Mandy Indiana?
Yes.
Like I just love that experimental, like, bringing in, like, electronic music and, like, having, like, just, like, hard-hitting, like, I love them. Like, I've been...
Me too. I've just actually gotten into Mandy Indiana. Yeah. I think that honestly is a vibe that's gonna happen. I kind of want to experiment that myself, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, I think trip hop is definitely gonna come back. I think there's like a vibe. I could see the like a lot of like new artists having like less like band formats and having more like DJ.
Mm-hmm.
I was seeing a video of like Jane Remover play,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that they don't have like a backing band.
Yeah.
And like that type of thing I think might be in, which is kind of cool. I like the idea of like breaking the like classic like rock show structure.
Yeah. And then it's just like a lot, because it makes it a lot simpler when you're like starting out, because like if you're opening for someone and you're getting paid like
Yeah, you don't have to split it.
$250, and then you're splitting it between like 5 people, it's like, that's crazy. Like, no money.
Yeah.
And then like, what are some of your favorites from like the playlist? I haven't.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, Yuli.
Yeah.
That is one of my favorites right now.
Mm-hmm.
That album is so crazy.
Yeah.
That's hard as hell. Let me think. Bartalia, Yuli. I love Liz Fair so much. I included one OG and Avril Lavigne.
Yeah, like the why can't I?
I love that song like, so much.
It reminds me of just like teen movies like from the 90s, because like it definitely is in like a teen movie, and like
I think so.
Like the dramatic part where they're like in a fight with someone.
I think my shout outs are those.
Yeah.
I love Pretty Sick also.
Yeah, Pretty Sick is really...
She's so cool.
Yeah.
I love her. That's definitely a big inspiration for us. For sure.
And I love Mama a lot too. Like, I love their...
Mama is awesome.
Like, I love all of their projects, but I really love their earlier stuff too. Like, I find myself really drawn to their second album, I think.
Yeah, me too. I think that's the one I included.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that album a lot.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, when I've seen them, like, please pray this song.
Yeah.
Please.
They have this, like, first EP.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling my boyfriend about this, like, one song that was, like, randomly stuck in my head from this first EP. Then I went on their Spotify and they deleted it. And I was so like, sad. No!
Yeah. Like, I really love Not a Runner on Two of Me. And I think it's just Allegra singing. And I'm like, please play it one time. I think they had a show at Baby's like a while back, like almost a year ago, and they were like, we're gonna play some deep cuts, and I'm like, please. They didn't play it. It's fine.
It's so funny how that is.
Yeah. And like, that's it. Do you have anything else like you want to shout out, or?
I just want to shout out. Keep an eye out for new music coming soon, very soon. And yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Yay. It's fun.
Hell yes.
Yay. Thanks for tuning into the episode. As usual, all links will be in the bio. And until next time, thanks y'all.